Wednesday LiveStream from Dulcimer Crossing. I'm Steve Uhlberg, co-owner of Dulcimer Crossing, and we provide this every week as an opportunity to focus on particular things in the dulcimer world. Today, we're going to focus on 4 equidistant strings on a mountain dulcimer. I am holding a standard mountain dulcimer. This is a McSpadden Ginger, so it's the smaller body version, and it's laid out right now in a 3-string pattern with a doubled melody string. There are people who don't like doubled melody strings. That's fine. I'm not worried about that right now. I just want to focus on how do we get to 4 equidistant strings. You might notice that there's some fret slots. There are a bunch of fret slots. I've only got 4 strings, but I've got 2 other slots that are not being used in both the nut and the bridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the string tension on the middle string, and I'm going to use my pick on this side to help lift the string up so it can go over to the other outside. So now I have DNA on these outside strings. I'm going to do the same thing with the inside melody string. Lower the string tension, and I'll use my pick again, and I have the string moved over to the other slot. And now I have 4 equidistant strings. They're equidistant because they're spaced separately from each other. Right now I've chosen the D-A-D-D tuning, which is a way that this gets used a lot. And when I'm playing in a drone style like that, one of the things I'm doing is just using my noodling position from the second string on the melody string or the second fret on the melody string to the third fret on what was the middle string, but still the A string. Now it's the first. If I count my strings from the bass, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. If I count from the melody, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm either on the first and third string or I'm on the second and fourth. There's no standard there. People talk about them in different ways, but one of the things it does is it gives me this a high ringing D, which is kind of cool. It's just nice to have it there for us if we want it, and that is a way to play where we kind of skip it and use all of our regular chord fingerings. And there we go. There. Okay, so now I can see your comments. So interesting, Talon. You have done it with D here and another D here, and then your A goes back to where this one was, and you have a high D here. That's very interesting. Now, this may sound different than yours because gingers are originally built to sound best when they're in G or F. I've tuned this one to F because I like the voice of the instrument. It can play in D. I would restring it to play it in D with some thicker strings. And you're right. Mike Klemmer's Band Jammers is another reason, or is one of the instruments that is 4 strings. Let's go over here. This is a Klemmer dulcimer. This is a 5-string dulcimer. You can see there's 5 tuning pins. This one has the ability to adjust these, so I could move this string over. So I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4/5. I could make this a 5-string with 5 independent strings. Now what I've done with this one, I had him customize it so it is a 4-string setup. But what I did was make this is the regular D, A, D, D setup. I've added a bass D below it. So where the other one had a high D that was always ringing, if I play my L-shaped chords like I'm doing now, I've got a low D ringing like a pedal tone, like an organ would play. Or if I reach over and play my double D bass, now I've got a ringing A string. So one of the reasons, there's so many reasons and ways that people will do this, but it starts to open up if I have a ringing drone string. And you mentioned the band jammer. One of the things that happens when you have that, you can get a banjo sound because a banjo always has a high ringing pitch. That short string on a 5-string banjo is the high ringing sound. I didn't bring my band jammer today. That would have been a great idea because it would have fit into this topic very well. And Talon is talking about you could use the A that's an octave lower than the regular A and have it be the low string. So you'd have like a 5-1, and then it's like having a baritone in ADA and a standard in DAD all on the same instrument. And in fact, the Max Dad that Richard at Folkcraft is building is that idea of how do we expand and with one instrument have more. But then the question is, do I strum everything or do I just strum some things? Or the question is, do I put everything down with this hand or just put it down some things? And I like exploring the drones. And so that is one of the things that I like to do. There is another way that this happens. And in fact, it's an older way. This is my Galax instrument. It's also got 4 equidistant strings. There's no place for these to be set up as doubled melody strings. This is the traditional way of playing that's from Southwest Virginia, but it's true throughout Virginia as well as, let's see, is that the best quill I want to use today? I think I want to use you, not that one. Okay. So this is set up with a high fretboard. It's intended to be played noter style, but it's set up so that when I am putting my noter down, I'm covering 2 of the 4 strings. So 2 are playing melody and 2 are droning. And the thing I've discovered, and I talked about this in my noter class at the Quarantune Festival this weekend, that I like having doubled strings because my noter doesn't easily tip over and hit all the frets. When I have a double melody string, it makes it a little easier to skate, whether they're separated equidistantly like this, or even the double melody string on a different instrument. And this is intended to always be played drone style, with 2 ringing notes that are the 5th of either the octave or the 5th of whatever key you're in. I could do a similar thing. The difference between this 4-string equidistant setup and that 4-string equidistant setup is a Galax is everything is tuned to the same pitch. So when I'm droning against this zero pitch. On this instrument, I've got an octave D that's below the melody string, and there's two of them, and I've got an A in the fifth that's right there. So this is more like playing fireside bagpipes, where you have a 1 and a 5 drone. That is more like playing Keelmore or Highland pipes, where you have one note, but you have octave drones instead of a 1 and a 5. Now that's F, but you can hear when you have the octave stuff there. When I do it on that same tune, Fly Around My Pretty Little Miss. Now, if this is D, and if that was tuned to D, that would be the same song that is playing. That would be the same song as playing, but the four equidistant string provides for a different, the drones being different, the tonal center being, well, the tonal center is the pitch, the base of the pitch, but there's no fifth in here, so it just sounds different. And you play, so you have an octave bass on the bass string, two A's, and then you have an octave bass on the melody string, two, Talmadge. So it's like going up and down, and then you add a low A on the bottom. It's time to get a 12-string different. Dulcimer, yeah. So you do the double. Okay, so that's very interesting. Huh. So you're experimenting with a lot of different ways of doing this. Very fun. Very fun. Well, one of the reasons I'm calling attention to this today is because there are so many different ways that we can do this. Let me change my camera view. There are a lot of different ways that we can do this. And the Four Equidistant Dulcimer Day, which is scheduled for March 11th, I'm putting that link into the chat, is a whole day of exploring this. We have 6 instructors. Leo Kretzner wrote in Dulcimer Players News at the end of last year an article about the four equidistant style of playing and his connection with Janita Baker, who we hoped to be able to get here to be a part of this, but in her part of the world, the internet connections aren't stable enough for her to be able to do that, which is very sad. So we're trying to find a way for her to be present in a way that she can. But these are 6 people who regularly use this way of playing with their dulcimers, who are going to show us how they do it. Aubrey Atwater has lessons already on Dulcimer Crossing about how she does it with different songs. Leo's going to talk about his things. I love his title here. Let me share my screen so you can see the page. This is the page of that I just gave you, and the front of the page. Here's who we have. So Aubrey Atwater, Leo Kretzner, molecular dulcimer and recombinant folk music. Thomasina Levy from Connecticut uses a lot for her accompanying singing, and Bradley Ellis is doing all kinds of fun stuff in North Carolina. Sue Carpenter from Texas is a well-known and national champion fingerstyle player. Bradley's also a national champion, and Grant Olson is a national champion. So the bottom row here are also all national champions. And Grant has got some different. He's playing on a more chromatic instrument sometimes, and so to find out what they're teaching, click on the schedule part of this page, and that'll take you to the titles of their workshops. And this will go all day. There is, if you're just curious and want to know what is an four equidistant string dulcimer, here is some comparisons, description of the history, and some videos that talk about how to get there from one place. I did a short thing here already. When you sign up for the day-long workshop, you'll get access to this page where the Zoom room is, and all the schedules and the handout packet and all of that will be come up available when it's time for that. The week before the festival. So that's what's coming in next March. There is a possibility, if the price is a little steep for you, to pay in installments. And right now you can pay in 3 installments, but that option is going to go away very soon. And then there'll be 2 installments, or you can play all, pay all up at once. So there's very interesting ways that people who have explored this. I think Aubrey's going to talk about the fact, but I'll just mention it here, that Jean Ritchie would tune in this 4 equidistant string way. So she'd tune D-A-D-X. And the X, the questionable, which one is it going to be, would be the one that she would need in order to play the melody she wanted to play. So right now, I don't think she had a 6.5 fret, so it wouldn't have been possible. Her scale would go. And so in order for that to work, she would tune D-A, D-A, D-A. And then she would have 4 equidistant strings with a 1-5-8 ringing drone, and then when she wanted a more Dorian, no, she would go to, for Aeolian, that lets you have the minor version. And then you can play your scales from playing only on the melody string. Now, one of the interesting things that happens if you would tune like Kevin Roth is, I don't know that he was doing it equidistant. I think he had these 2 melody strings close to each other, but he's the first person that I heard doing this kind of a thing where the strings right next to each other would be tuned to 2 different pitches. So I'd have D, A, 2 A's, and then a high D. So this would be capital D, capital A, high D, but I'd play these two at the same time. And I could do that with my noter. And it gives it a very jazz kind of a feel. Now, Doug, you're saying you have a ragtime book from Sue Carpenter. Yep. Very interesting tunings. The first person I saw tuning in four equidistant ways with unique tunings was Janita Baker. And she would have this tuning, D-A. This is a D-A, A flat. She would also do a D-A, A sharp. But she would be playing it was set so that you wouldn't ever strum all the way across. You would play individual strings. She came to the dulcimer from a banjo, and she was already used to playing thumb and two fingers on four strings with a fifth string ringing. So that wasn't a big challenge for her. It was called Blues and Ragtime, and wonderful accompanying CD. She did a lot of blues that would have this very intricate kind of things. Sue Carpenter also is a four-string player, and When You Wish Upon a Star, she's got a delicious arrangement of that. I remember she played that in the national championship, and we'd taught at the same festivals for a long time, and I'd hear her perform that when it's a beautiful arrangement. But she's got several different beautiful arrangements that are using four strings and some different tunings. So there are people who've been doing this for a time. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But speaking of, this is my cup of tea. And so is this. It's one of my many cups of tea. I like a lot of different ways of playing. And I'm excited that when you start thinking about what else could happen, people have all kinds of ideas. And I love that just in our conversation here today, you're describing the ways that you have already done this. And I hope you'll take a look at that, because if this is something that interests you, there hasn't been one of these before. There hasn't been a day or a festival dedicated to four equidistant string playing. And much like we have done with the Chromatic Dulcimer Summit that Aaron May organized, and the Resonator Dulcimer Day that we had last year, a whole day dedicated to Resonator Dulcimers, this is a whole day dedicated to four equidistant dulcimer string playing, or four equidistant string dulcimer playing. And it's a chance to gather the minds together, why you do this, how you do this. Ashley Ernst will be hosting a roundtable at the beginning of the day where everybody can talk about how they came to this, and opportunity for some questions, as well as workshops through the day, and then a round robin concert to complete the day. And that's all on March 11th, which would be the second Saturday in March coming up this year. So I'm excited about that. And I had a great quarantine. If you took part in it, I hope you did too. And that you are finding ways to carry on with what you were learning there. I know I've got some students who say, I've discovered I can't take too much because my brain, just too many circuits. And there are others of my private students there are some of my private students who say that they just are very judicious. I'm going to take this and this, and that's it. I'm going to focus my attention. And then they work on that stuff. I've got some others who say, this is my one shot. I'm going to take as many as I can. And somebody took 14 classes and is so excited. We're different. People are different. People want to play differently. They want to play different music in different ways. Um, and that's the beauty of a musical world. We can do that. So I support that, and I support you as you find your ways of making beauty and joy in the world with your music. Well, thank you for joining us today. Um, as always, I also want to call attention to the fact that we've got a workshop coming up in a couple of weeks. There we go. Okay. So our upcoming workshop, I'm going to share this screen too. Coming right up is Rick Thumb, who is a hammer dulcimer focused workshop. Make your music fun with syncopation, and he's a wonderful player and teacher from the St. Louis area. He's also a builder and host of wonderful jam sessions. If you can be at a festival where he is and he's hosting, you're going to have a good time. Then next month, continuing our 4 equidistant string focus for March, Hunter Walker from West Virginia is going to talk about what happens when he adds a 4th string. So we've got 6 people in the day-long thing, and then we got the one-hour workshop in March. We haven't nailed the date down, but May will be Katie Moritz doing hammer dulcimer, and then Timothy Seaman is going to do a joint, some original nature tunes, he says, for both dulcimers, for both mountain and hammered, and that's ambitious. He's putting it together. We've got to fit it all into a 1-hour format. These workshops are available at no extra charge for workshop and mentor level students of Dulcimer Crossing. If you're a DIY student, you can upgrade and get the workshop for half price, and then you can go back to your regular workshop level or DIY level after the workshop. You'll still have access to the workshop archive of that one. While you're a workshop member, however, you have access to the archive of all of our live events. We've got quite a library that is continuing to build up. There's a lot going on at Dulcimer Crossing, and we're glad to be able to provide support for people wherever they are. And this is just one of the ways that happens. And I'm grateful to you for tuning in, for asking your questions and sharing your experiences. And I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye.